Welcome to the wonderful world of chitlins with Chef Reggie B. We're going to use chitlins and hog maws to make some delicious chitlins. So get your notepads out and let's do it. Chitlins or chitterlings and hog maw. This is hog maw. I'm going to clean that. I've been cleaning some of these chitlins now. And so basically, you got to look at it. After you've been doing it for a while, you kind of know what you're looking at. And you flip it inside out. And then you start going after these membranes. And once you get a good one moving, then you start peeling that membrane off. And sometimes it will last a while because it's a lot. And sometimes it's not. But I keep going at it. My mother taught me how to clean chitlins. Annie Marie Bullock-Pompey. I remember I learned how to do these things when I was 6 or 7 years old. But I did not remember everything. So then when I became older and I wanted to make chitlins, she came right here to this sink and trained me in chitlins. And I cleaned them for 3 days. And she would watch me clean them. And after a while, she'd say, Reggie, you cleaning them too good. I was like, what do you mean I'm cleaning too good? She said, you're pulling all of the membranes off more than once. She said, you only need to take the membranes off once. Because they're layers and layers and layers of membrane. And I'll be looking at it and I'll say, no, this thing's not clean. And I don't want to have any type of chitlins that are not clean because I wanted to be able to give them to my aunts. And I wanted them to be proud of me because I made chitlins like my grandmother. See how I pull that membrane off? I be finding that membrane. My mother used to laugh at me. She's like, you still finding membranes? She didn't clean them like that. She would clean all of the gook and stuff and everything off of it. But as you can see, these chitlins don't really have any shit on them. I don't know the way to say it. But I have ways of spotting things about the chitlins that I think shouldn't be there. And therefore, I start going at it. And the more I go at it, the more I find stuff like this. And where'd it go? There it is. And I start peeling it off. Now, this clear stuff, I'm throwing it away. And my mother would like, you got to leave some of it on there, Reggie. But see how I'm doing this? Some of you who clean chitlins a lot will probably telling me now, Reggie, you're just getting too much off of it and you need to stop. But I know my chitlins are super clean because I'm the one that's cleaning them. I'm gonna tell you something. If you ever eat chitlins that are not cleaned properly, worst case scenario, you eat chitlins that aren't cleaned at all, right? People be frying chitlins to get away with it because they, when you fry it, they turn brown and you can't see everything you're supposed to see. You're supposed to flip these things inside out. You're supposed to eyeball every inch of it. You look real hard. And then after you look at it, you start going after these membranes. And then, once you've done a few of these membranes, what you do is you still look at it again because you might not have got it all. Now, I'm going to go through all of these chitlins in this sink. I've already done some. And after I go through all these chitlins, I've already washed it. I washed it with vinegar and baking soda. And what I'm going to do is exactly what I'm doing now to all these chitlins. And then when I'm finished, I'm going to wash them again. And then I'm going to go through every single chitlin one more time. And that way I'm satisfied that I got all of the membranes that I wanted to get off, because there are things that are attached to the membrane. And I want to make sure I get it. Some people, like I said, they think that I'm doing too much. They think that I'm throwing away good stuff. And I'll be honest with you, right? If this were 1812 or the 1700s, and that's all we had to eat, or we get no meat, then I would agree. I probably would save a lot of that. But as you can see, I'm throwing a lot of this membrane away. Some people probably want to eat that. I'm not eating it. All right, this is what we call hog maw, alias the stomach. And you see all this fat right here? I get rid of this fat. I mean, I just get rid of it because I don't want it cooking in with the chitlins. And, you know, it's just fat, and I don't need that. There's no nutritional value behind that. It's not healthy. But anyway, I cut the fat out, you know, and sometimes you get a little bit of that meat out of there too. But this fat doesn't do well with the chitlins. So my mama taught me just get rid of it. Get rid of the fat. And it's not easy to get rid of it. You got to work it out. So, like, see all this fat? You got to get it. If you had a fillet knife, I have a fillet knife, but this knife is just as well. And you just got to get that fat out of there. See that? You see that thing right there? That's where it goes to the intestines, you know, inside your body. So when you have a colonoscopy or endoscopy, you see this stuff. Colonoscopy, you see all of the chitlins. Hey, it's food, right? So I'm just getting rid of all of this fat. And I'm going to do this meticulously to this hog maw. And then the other thing, once I get this all done, then my mother had me cut this thing down into like 2-inch pieces. I got most of it out. Some of this stuff you can leave it there. It's not that bad. It's not thick. Like this is thick. So I'm just gonna cut that out. But then you cut it when you get ready to cook it about, you know, this kind of size, because it's gonna cook down. So you wanna cook it maybe like 1.5 to 2-inch squares. And then it's gonna cook down and get a lot smaller. So that's the process that I'm going to do. This is a tedious process. You know, cleaning and cooking chitlins can take a long time. I'm going to cut this right out of this fat. And that way I don't have to deal with the fat. Yeah. So cleaning and cooking chitlins is a process. That's why when you ask somebody, yo, could you make me some chitlins? All right, give me $300. I'll make you some chitlins, because the amount of time and the hourly rate and the process and the art and science of it and being tedious with it is real work. So therefore, you know, you should be compensated. That's why I think real chitlins should be like $30 a bowl, not no $5 a bowl. But if you do it the way I do it, yeah, I'm charging you $30 a bowl, because this is a delicacy and you got to know what you're doing properly. So anyway, that's the process. See you on the other side. I've cleaned these chitlins thoroughly, very thoroughly. And now it's the final rinse. One of the things you want to look for is how clear the water is. The water's not brown. It's not real bloody. It's pretty clean. But that's because I've cleaned these things thoroughly. I've been doing this for many years, so I know what it's supposed to look like. And they don't smell. These chitlins don't smell like some of you probably have smelled chitlins. My house don't smell. The chitlins don't smell, because it's clean. Now, having said that, I probably will cook these outside on the grills, on my grills, you know, burner. because it's my house. But look how clear this water is. You see that? These chitlins are clean, thoroughly clean. So now, the next thing you do is you put them in the pot. And you don't really have to put any water in the pot. The water that's in the chitlins, now I'm sounding like my mother. The water that's in the chitlins will cook out and cook down. And that's all you need. She didn't put extra water in the chitlins. She just did like that. And everything that was inside the chitlins in terms of water was plenty. So you're watching. Now you see these things. These are hog maw. I cut them up. You saw me cleaning them, and I said I was going to cut them up. And now I'm cutting them up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a potato inside these chitlins just to give it a little bit of gravy when the potatoes start to really cook down and mush up. Put celery in there. That takes out some of the smell. And then I'm going to put some other seasoning and, of course, a couple of green peppers. And you'll see. So now I have already cleaned and cut these up. And so, these are peppers. You see the peppers. And I already cut them out. But my mother, she just throws the whole thing in there. Just like that. She takes the celery and put them in there. Just like that. Everything. She don't break them up either. One time she didn't tell me. She just told me what to put in there. So I cut up the celery. I cut up the greens. And then they were cooking. And I said, Mom, what's the next step? She said, well, take the greens out, take the celery out, take the peppers out. And I'm thinking, what? I got to go in there, and I had to meticulously take those things out because I had cut them up. She doesn't cut them up. She lets them cook down in the juices and the pot liquor, and everything will do what it do. But then she takes everything out because it's still intact. It's easier to take out. So I learned that lesson the hard way. And I learned that lesson only once. So I'm going to take this pot and I'm going to put it outside. I'm not putting no seasoning or anything in it yet. Because the other thing is once it's start to cook down and you pour some of the water off, then you start seasoning it to taste. And that's a whole nother process of making sure it tastes like grandma's chitlins. I ain't going to let y'all see that or tell you what goes in it. All right, time to cook. There it is. It has been cooking for about an hour or so. I say it has at least another 3 hours to go. Maybe more, depends. But it's cooking down. And as you can see, the celery and the pepper, you don't see the potatoes, I don't think, are all cooking down. The hog maw is floating to the top a little bit. But this is going to cook for a while. And it's going to cook down even more, which is the sad part, right? All of this work, 2 days worth of work, all of this chitlins, and then when it's finally time to eat it, it's not that much, so it doesn't last long. And then once it's gone, it's like, man, I needed to make more. So anyway, this is the process. Back to the process of the chitlins. So now, as you can see, it has cooked down, and following Annie Marie Bullock, my mom's process, you get all these celery stalks out. You don't want the fiber elements of these celery stalks inside your chitlins. I'm even going to take the chunks of potatoes out. My mother right now would look at me with them and see them potatoes come out. She'd put them in a separate bowl because those things are going to get eaten by her, later on. So I may do the same, but I'm putting these chunks of potatoes that I catch, like, the little ones, I'm going to let them break up because that's going to help with the roux and with the stock. But this celery stuff, you got to get out. And remember what I said that I did wrong last time? I cut all of these pieces up. So then when it was time to get them out, this kind of stuff was even smaller and it was just difficult. So the green peppers you keep in there, and the green peppers will give it, there's another big piece of potato. The green pepper will help with the flavoring and the color. You know, there's a certain color to real good chitlins. If, you know, after you've made chitlins 10, 20 times, you know, or eaten them 100 times, you start to understand the color. And you start looking for that. Yeah, some of these greens come out. It's all right. I have enough green pepper in there that it's okay. But I do not want elements of celery. And so I'm going kind of, you know, tedious with this. And I know some of y'all who are impatient are probably saying, come on, Reggie, you know, cut to the next part. But for those of you who are really trying to learn how to make chitlins, you don't want me to cut, because as I'm doing this, as you can see, I'm noticing. So you want to be able to notice stuff. And then you can't notice anything if you go fast. You can't notice anything if you don't take your time. You don't notice. There's another celery stalk, right? So you don't notice these things. And through the video, you're going to see the tedious process that I go through for making chitlins. Now, some of you who know me are probably saying, damn, Reggie does know how to cook chitlins. Yeah, I'm a Bullock. See, it was another one. This was hiding, you know. And if you notice, I'm doing the best I can to not put any chitlins in that bowl. Now, these chitlins are not ready to taste yet. I've only been cooking these chitlins for about 2.5 hours. See that stringy stuff there? I don't want that in my chitlins. I've only been cooking the chitlins for about 2.5 hours. And so I'm going to cook the chitlin for another 2 hours. But this is the midway process, as my mom would say. This is the midway process. Now, one of the things she did in the midway process was cut the chitlins up. So all of these big pieces, I'm just getting rid of a lot of these greens, because as you can see, the color of this pot liquor is starting to evolve. You want that pot liquor to look good and juicy and kind of brownish with a little hint of green in it. Yeah, I think I've done proper justice. And remember when I said I cooked this, I did not put any water in here at all. One time, you know, because my mother would try to give me the recipe over the phone. One time I practiced cooking. I say practice because it really wasn't me cooking chitlins the way she does it. But I cooked the chitlins. This is potato skin. I cooked the chitlins and I put extra water in there. Well, when my mom finally came down here and showed me how to do this, I realized how dumb that was, because basically you're boiling them instead of cooking them. And so you learn from your mistakes. There's some more celery. So I'm taking my time with this part of the video because this is really one of the most important elements in cooking chitlins, next to cleaning them. Let's see here. You gotta study these chitlins. In order to study it, you gotta know what you're looking for. So I'm getting this green stuff out because it's not necessary anymore. The flavor of it, of the greens that I put in there, have already done their due. And now, look at that. See how I do that? The flavor of the greens, there's another potato, is already making it work. They have passed on their purpose. And now I'm ready. I'm gonna leave that in there. See, a little bit of greens is good. Now, here's the other piece that most folks never see. They don't know about. It's just a process. So I'm gonna use these. I haven't used these before for chitlins, but I know that they're very sharp because I sharpened them. And so take that one, take that one. And my mother would take 2 knives and just do like this. She would just do that. And it took me years to really master this piece right here. But she would cut them up like this in the pot. Because the big pieces will find their way to the knife. The little pieces will find their way away from the knife. Some of you are looking at it and saying, wow, this is an in-depth process. Yes, it is. These knives are very sharp, and they're going through that hog maw. These are my fishing fillet knives, so I know how sharp they are. Let's just check. See? Everything's cut up. Look at that. Man, I almost want to taste it right now, but I'm not going to taste it right now because I need to cook it a little longer. But the cutting and the whole process of getting all of this stuff out, you needed to see that. But now it's back to the simmer. And I'll catch you again. There it is. Back to the simmer. I'm gonna bring it to a boil. And once it starts to boil, then I'm gonna turn it back down on a simmer for about 2 more hours. Maybe an hour in, I may start seasoning it and I'll let you see what that process is. Well, the chitlins are done. And just to pick up on what I was saying, yes, the house smells like chitlins. So once I have packaged these chitlins in these containers, and these containers are screw-on lids. So if I'm traveling somewhere to give people chitlins, I want to make sure I have them on screw-on lids so there's no mistakes. These, I'll put them in here by myself, and everything is portioned out, right? That way I can preserve them for a while instead of a big giant bowl. So I'll do that, and I'll open up all of the windows in the house. It's almost 11 o'clock, so it's gonna be sunny out in a few minutes. It's sunny now in the snow. I'm gonna open all of the windows in the entire house. And I'm gonna have a cross ventilation like crazy. I wish it was windy outside. And I'm gonna remove that smell from my house. But for now, it is a nostalgic smell of 1240 East Price Street, Philadelphia, PA 19138. Annie Marie Pompey Bullock's house that I grew up in, and it's nostalgic. So I'm gonna stir this up, and instead of saying plate it, I'm gonna bowl it, and then I'm gonna eat some. So gotta get some of that juice in there. Gotta get some more juice in there. And I'm kind of greedy with my chitlins, so I'm gonna put a little bit more in there. There we go. And the only thing left to do is to eat it. I'm Chef Bullock saying, let's go eat some chitlins. Okay, it's time to sit down and do this. Yes, I have red wine, Tabasco sauce, cornbread, and my chitlins. It's time to eat. Let's do it. All right, I'm gonna do this. And put some Tabasco sauce in there. And what I want to do, I want to take this here, mix that Tabasco sauce up. All right, this is it. That is good. Now, because this is mine, I like to have a bite in mine. So, we're gonna do that a little bit more. I like mine spicy. And I don't do it when I'm cooking to make it too spicy, because you never know how people like their chitlins. How do you like your chitlins? Chef Reggie B likes his spicy. Let's see. Oh yeah. Put that little, dip it in that pot liquor. My mother would just let it sit there for a bit. Just sit in there and soak up that pot liquor while she's eating around it and doing other things. Red wine goes with chitlins. They pair nicely. I think that's a cab. Just leave it in there. I've seen my mother take whole biscuits and just put it in there, and then as she's eating chitlins, she'll, like, you know, add the biscuit in there. And so she'll get like a fork full of cornbread and chitlins and do like that. I've been known when I was a kid to take this and drink it at the end, because once the chitlins are gone, you don't have no more chitlins. What do you got? Pot liquor. So, I'm Chef Reggie B saying, this is my family recipe. Now you have it. Go ahead and make yourself some chitlins. We generally only make chitlins around Thanksgiving and Christmas. We don't usually cook chitlins throughout the year. It's something about, you know, killing the hog when it's warm versus when it's cold. So that's what I was taught. But I know partly it's because, you know, growing up on a farm, my family was poor. And, you know, it's not like you can just kill a hog all the time. And making chitlins fresh from killing a hog takes days. And so, you know, and most of the times it was the ladies doing it. So therefore, you know, it was a Thanksgiving time frame type of meal, and it was a Christmas time frame type of meal, a delicacy. A lot of work to do that. And folks would look forward to having chitlins. So even in my house growing up, I just kind of knew it was a standard. Thanksgiving time frame, we're going to have chitlins. Christmas, going to have chitlins all my life. And as my mother was transitioning through stage 4 breast cancer, I needed to have that recipe. So every year, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'm going to make some chitlins. So here is to my mother and my grandmother and all my aunts and their chitlin recipe of the Bullock clan. I may put these in the outtake, but these bowls are basically, in my opinion, worth $25 for this little bowl. Yep, I say these bowls are worth $25 because I know how much time I put into it. And if I divided my time per hour, this is not no $5 bowl or give me this. No, these are $25 bowls, so that's $150 worth of chitlins, in my opinion. So if y'all want my chitlins, it's gonna cost you. I'm Chef Reggie B.